Hi, my name is Steve. This video is about IVF and how to be successful at it at a affordable price. I would say compared to the United States, it's 2.5 times less in Ukraine than in, say, California for IVF service. That's because there's legal fee, the circuit mother agent's fee, the fee for the circuit mother, and there's the medication I need to buy. So if I remember correctly, it can run to 200,000 or 250,000, and in Ukraine is around $60,000 or $70,000. And initially, I thought, if my boy or girl is born in another country, would they have problem becoming like the U.S. citizens? It turned out, no. The consulate of Ukraine, of the consulate of United States, they do have what they call foreign-born certificate. So the requirement is both the parents, the mom and the dad, needs to be present at the consulate in Ukraine. So this is done in 2024. So there is a war. Even today is 2025. There is a war going on in Ukraine since 2 years ago. So safety is a concern, but at the time, the air defense was pretty good, and the likelihood of getting into trouble by Russian bombing, I would say it's relatively low. So it wasn't a big concern to us. But anyway, I want to get back to how I did it. So in, I think, 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine, started a full-scale war. And near the end of 2022, I happened to travel to Europe, and I decided to go to Ukraine and look for like IVF clinics that I can trust, right? The English language is not a problem. The clinic themselves, they do have people speaking English. In general, I would say Ukrainians are relatively well educated. So that's not a barrier at all. And I chose 2 clinics. Both are very good. The one in Kyiv is a lot cheaper, and they gave me successful result the first time I tried it, and the cost is around $60,000. That's because they have a program called Guarantee Success. That means you can keep trying. Once you pay, let's say $60,000, That's including the first surrogate mother and the medical treatment. So it's fairly affordable. Um, and if you think about costs of IVF, right? I would have spent like $500,000 or $1 million easy to get this done, because for people who don't have children, the money that you make doesn't make any sense. It doesn't serve any purpose, because there's no future for yourself. There's no future. So what's the purpose, or what's the meaning of money when there's no purpose? So I was prepared to keep trying to until I get a success, or until I got too old and finally maybe give up or run out of money. That's what happened to people who don't have children and want it really bad. I can get into like the psychology of that later, but in this video, I'd like to talk about just the cause, how it is done, and I just want to focus on Ukraine, because that's where I got my first successful IVF came from. So if the war is finished, then you don't need to do it the way I done it. But during the war, what I done was, I figure if Russia pick a target to attack, it would be very difficult to attack long distance bus service. A bus doesn't have a fixed route like a train. A bus can adjust its route depending on conditions. And from the risk is highest for bus ride is probably the final destination where the station is. A station is a kind of like a easily identifiable target. So I figure, the time I spent in the bus station is relatively short. And if I take the bus, it's very hard, next to impossible to caught in fire, caught in a missile strike or something like that. So I took a flex bus ride. It's like total 20 hours ride. It's pretty long. I think it was 20 hours. Yeah. Yeah, I went usually from Poland to Kyiv. I think it was 20 hours, right? But at the time I came from, I rode from Germany to Kyiv. So it's even longer. Anyway, I took the Flex bus. I feel very comfortable, feel very safe traveling that way. Once I arrive, I know the clinic. I use Google Map. At the time, the credit card was still functioning, so I used credit card to get a share ride. The share ride was Bolt, which is like a European share ride service. And then I went to the clinic. I did my business. I had an interview with them. They interview me, make sure that I qualify, meaning that I am married to a woman. I think that mattered to them, and I have medical necessity proof, so I need to get a letter from my doctors in the United States, send it to them. And to be honest, even if I don't have it, I think they might be able to just make something up. But anyway, that might not be true, so sorry. But my feeling is, in Ukraine, there are rules. Um, they do follow the rule, but I feel like you can bend it a little bit. In the United States, it's a little bit harder to bend, but anyway, I followed the rule. I didn't bend it. So, to for full disclosure, I used my own sperm, and I selected one donor out of I think four. The difference in donor between the U.S. donors and Ukrainian donors is the profile of the Ukrainian donor is that's there are not much information about them, not as much as the United States. In U.S., you get to know their genetic match, uh, their education level, their GPA, what their family backgrounds are, their health background of the family. So it's very detailed, very kind of invasive information. But in Ukraine, it's a lot less than that. What I got in Ukraine was, I think the education level, a video interview, which is nice because you can tell a lot by watching someone how they conduct themselves, how they talk, and their emotion comes through their face, and you can tell a lot by looking at observing these kind of characteristics. Luckily, I really have a very good donor, and by the way, the video interview of the donor, they were in Ukrainian, so I don't exactly know what they are saying if I didn't use Google Translate. So what I did was I used Google Translate app, and I just used the voice feature of the Google Translate. So I was able to understand what the donor was saying on the interview. So that is a good part. So I was very lucky to have success first try. But the other thing is I could have done a little bit better is selecting the second mother. Now in the United States, they really pay attention to the weight index, like how, well, not so polite way to put it is how fat that person, the second mother, is. Because if you are already heavy set and then you have a baby, the baby changes your body chemistry and cause you to gain more weight. So if you're already heavyweight, you're going to gain a lot more weight, and that's going to cause birth risk. And it happened to me, just happened to me for my first child in Ukraine. I'm not sure it's completely related to weight, but we had an early birth, I think by 3 weeks. So yeah, 3 weeks or more. 3 weeks or more, according to the people like in the industry, the health industry, or even my nanny in Ukraine, is not that abnormal. So they assure me it's not that rare. So okay, yeah, whatever. But the other thing is I should have paid more attention was the milk, mother's milk. The first milk is very, very nutritious, and the baby should not miss it. Now, I think I could have asked the clinic to provide that service from the surrogate mother, but I didn't. Another thing I could have asked was a natural birth. And a natural birth, I like it more if that is an option, is because the microbiome, when a baby come, when a baby is born, the baby basically pass to the uterus, and then the microbiome of the mother, the surrogate mother, will pass on to the baby. So it will help the gut develop its own microbiome and then digest milk better, become more healthier. So I could have those two key things. So the milk and the natural birth. These two things are very beneficial to the baby, and I could have asked for that. Anyway, my firstborn didn't have that benefit, so but it seems to turn out okay. He's very healthy. So anyway, we got that done. Like the first day I saw the baby, he was in a incubator, some kind of chamber, warm chamber, and he's not moving too much, but he was moving a little. And we kind of before I went to see my firstborn, I asked around like the Ukrainian contact that I have for nanny service, right? And they do have good nanny service. I got lucky to have probably one of the best nanny that I can hire in Ukraine, in Kyiv. She's so fantastic. She's very personable. She knows what she's doing. She has great relationship with the doctors. She's very calm. She's very confident, nurturing. It's just fantastic person. So the thing is interesting is that in terms of paperwork, the hospital will give you some kind of medical record of the birth, and it's in Ukrainian. You need to keep that paper for the U.S. consulate. Otherwise, you're gonna have problem getting the birth certificate from the consulate. That would be a very huge problem if you miss it. But I guess you can work around that and ask for that a copy of it later. But anyway, if you're gonna do IVF in Ukraine, Kiev, you need to pay attention to paperwork, especially because the clerical office people, they don't necessarily speak English and know perfect English. So when you when you get your firstborn, you need to review your contract with the clinic, with the contract with the surrogate mother. Make sure your names are spelled right. Make sure the country code is correct. For us, it's just USA, but in the United States, we just say U.S. In other country, like Ukraine, you have to say United States of America, USA. Because in this world has a lot of United States turn out. So I always say U.S. and then they correct me and they say it has to be U.S. United States of America. Anyway, so those kind of fine detail you need to get it correct, otherwise you're gonna get into trouble. And then they will give you, the clinic will give you a bunch of paperwork to satisfy the U.S. consulate, and the U.S. consulate will send you a list of paperwork that you need to gather, also the translation of all the paperwork, and the Ukrainian birth certificate. You need to go to like a registration office to get it. So when you get it, you need to translate it. So the translation service, the clinic will help you with that. But the 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 walking around getting all the paperwork correct is all on your own. I don't think. I mean, you can hire someone to do that, but I don't think that works really well. And I never thought I want to hire anyone to do the paperwork. I'd rather do it myself. But anyway, the translations fairly straightforward, and I got everything done. On top of my head, I can give you a list later on a link or something. On top of my head is like obviously the birth certificate you need, the contract with the clinic, the contract with the surrogate mother, uh, the medical record from the hospital. Sometimes they ask for like genetic proof or something, but for my case, I have all the paperwork. They didn't need to. So so once you get all the paperwork done, I did have I started my parental leave from my company, and in the United States you have 3 months for parental leave. And I stayed in Ukraine for 3 months. The reason I did that was nanny service is just so good, and it's kind of cheaper in Ukraine to take care of the baby. So, and also I don't want to fly back to the United States with a brand new newborn. So I want to have the baby be strong enough to just travel, take the 20 hours ride by train or by bus. By the way, when I went back to the United States, I took the train, and I had another nanny from Ukraine to help me travel. So 3 months in Ukraine, was buying formula milk, very very convenient. They take Visa credit card, but actually by the time I was like living in Ukraine for 3 months, I already got my bank account there. I have my Ukrainian credit card, so I had cash and then convert to Rina, Ukrainian money, and then just deposit it in my bank. I have Viva Bank. I didn't know which bank to use, but apparently Viva Bank is very popular in Ukraine, even though they have like corruption problem in way past. I mean, before the war, and then the Ukrainian government took over the bank, and I like them because they're very convenient. Their app has a lot of functionality. You can do a lot of stuff online. But one kind of troublesome thing is you need to have a Ukrainian phone number. So I got all that done. Get a phone is very easy. Just buy a SIM card. it's not difficult, but I also have lawyer help. When I was doing my surrogacy stuff, I I got some Ukrainian lawyer to help me on some of the final details. So that's a very good thing to have, and it's not that expensive, really. So I got my wife came visit me. The night that she came, we got Russian bombing again, air raid. I was in the hospital. Hospital was in lockdown mode, and I had to ask around the staff inside the hospital how to get out of the hospital, and how to get back in. So I was very touched. My wife went to Kyiv to to see the baby in the middle of Russian bombing. So it was quite a surreal experience. But we both very happy to see the baby. I think my wife is a little bit more happier than me for some reason. I don't know. But the kid it's a wonderful kid. It's a wonderful kid. And he's a lot like me. He has a temper. He's a little bit annoying at times, but I try. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm a bad father. But the thing about having kid before having kid and after having kid is you realize a parent is a completely different animal than non-parent. And for a parent, you kind of grow up. You kind of notice the immature thing that you're doing to the baby, how you react to the baby, because the baby is just a bag of reaction. They don't have any abstract thoughts and language skill, nothing like that. They just react to things. Reflex, a bag of reflexes. So baby is like that. And even then when they're older, they can start talk a little bit. They still kind of just a bag of reflexes. And they are doing things, they don't have any bad intention. It's just the way they communicate. It could be very annoying, but that's just how what the tool they happen to have. If they have other tools, they will use other tools. So I have two kids, both are IVF babies. One kid have very different tool than the other kid. So, and then I sometimes kind of impatient, and I kind of feel like, oh, that's kind of bad. I feel like it's kind of immature in my part. So, so being a parent kind of like helps you grow up in some way. Anyway, go back to Ukraine. I think kind of the end, we traveled by train. My wife went to another place for work. She left early than me, and I stayed in Ukraine longer. And I took the train. The train experience is kind of buying ticket is kind of hard. I turned out like you have to go to a Poland website to buy a Ukrainian ticket to go from Kiev to Poland. Normally, you would think like, okay, I'm gonna buy the ticket from Ukraine, but turned out it's easier from Poland. Anyway, that's one thing. Also, the train the train staff, they take your ticket. They take your ticket. I thought I hold on to my ticket. Like in the United States, you buy a ticket, they just cut it or do something or mark it or something. But in Ukraine, they take it, and that was kind of unexpected. Also, I didn't speak the language, so I thought, oh, what happened if I need my ticket? So it's kind of weird. Just something to pay attention, if that's the thing for you. Okay, so I finally arrived to Poland. The train was kind of pleasant. It's kind of like a long, not a very long bed. The baby was still very small in the crate. Sometimes I take the baby and then the baby cries, and I kind of, after 3 months, I already kind of know how to soothe the baby. So it went fine. We took the train. And then we went to Poland. I think I went to, I'm not sure if yeah, I think I traveled from Poland to Germany, Frankfurt, from Frankfurt to San Francisco. And I took a business class with the crib, like the bassinet feature. So that really helped. Otherwise, if it's economy class, I'll be very, very. It would have been a very tough situation. And I met my wife. We joined up in the airplane. So now I'm back in the United States, and that's the journey.